What's up, a Cinema Shogun here, and Amber Heard just got dealt a devastating blow. In fact, I'll go so far as to say this. If we truly have a fair and just justice system, which I would argue that we don't, then this tidbit of information should be a game changer. This tidbit of information about the show you all should totally destroy AH's defense. Let's go ahead and look at this clip, and I'll be back with my thoughts.
During the time that you were with Mr. Depp on the island for his detox process, did you ever witness him physically abuse Ms. Heard?
No, never.
Did you ever see any physical evidence that Mr. Depp had abused Ms. Heard?
No. Same answer, never.
Now, the man you just saw speaking is Dr. David Kipper. He's actually not only the doctor of Johnny Depp, but the doctor of AH as well. And to fully understand how significant what he just said is, you have to take a blast to the past, all the way to March 2015. Yes, folks, that's how long this stuff has been dragging on. Johnny Depp has wasted a decade of his life on this nonsense. And I'm hoping that he can get past it and get over this hump after this trial. And looking at what was just said, I feel like that's enough for him to win, honestly. He destroyed all of Amber Heard's defenses. Now, back in March of 2015, Amber Heard claimed that she was held captive by Johnny Depp. That basically what she described as a hostage situation for 3 days. That basically Johnny held her hostage and beat on her 3 days straight. She said she had a busted nose, almost broken nose, swollen face. He was just slapping her around for 3 days, even slammed her through a glass table. Now, if someone had gone through that much, they would of course have injuries. They would have marks on their body, You don't just get held captive for 3 days, get your ass whooped for 3 days straight, slammed through glass tables, and just look perfectly normal. However, Amber Heard shouldn't have said her name. She looked perfectly normal when she saw this doctor. That's why what he's saying is so significant. So after these 3 days of her so-called saying she was tortured, her doctor couldn't tell that there was anything wrong with her. He didn't see any injuries on her body. No bruises, no marks, no nothing. However, Johnny Depp had a severed finger. We already know that. So, under oath, Amber Heard has been, testifying that she had all of these injuries. And now under oath, her doctor is saying no. In fact, she didn't have any of these injuries at all. And what Amber was claiming, or AH was claiming, was that, over these 3 days, Johnny Depp was blacking out before and after losing his finger. But the witness said that Johnny was pretty coherent after he lost his finger. I was pretty coherent after I lost my finger. So I can understand, a lot of times people think when something like that happens to you that you just get all confused and blah, blah, blah. I can assure you, when something like that happens to you, it brings a moment of clarity to your life. I don't care what type of drugs or alcohol Johnny was on. When you lose a finger, it brings you back to reality, okay? So I don't believe that he was incoherent and all this stuff. Plus, we've already heard that Johnny can hold his drugs and his liquor, so I don't believe that's true. But we also found out that AH was actually left alone to administer Johnny's detox medicine. And sometimes I believe she was holding this over his head and withholding his medicine from him because she's just totally psychotic. But this right here, it breaks down everything. These 3 days were supposedly the worst 3 days that AH went through, And it's coming to light that these 3 days, nothing even happened to her. In fact, something basically just happened to Johnny. You have to understand, this woman was claiming that she had a broken nose and a swollen face and literally got slammed through tables, which would, you would have some marks on you, maybe some glass in you. None of that. Not a single injury on this woman's body. And what more do you need to realize that she's lying? I believe that if AH wasn't a woman, this would be going differently. We could play around if you want to, and we could sit here and hide from the truth. But the reality is, in these type of situations, it's like the man is always fighting an uphill battle. Even though I think it's blatantly obvious who's the victim in this situation. It's blatantly obvious that Johnny Depp was treated wrong. Verbally, physically, emotionally, you name it. He was just, I can't even say the words for the things that happened to him. And if a woman had the amount of evidence that Johnny Depp has against AH, it'd be out of there. Out of there. Probably, the man would probably be in prison right now. Literally. But because that's not the case, it's just like this woman is just able to do whatever the hell she wants. Get away with whatever she wants. And even when she's blatantly lying, even when her doctor has to take the stand under oath and tell everyone right there in the court, hey, no, she's lying. I mean, he didn't say she's lying out his mouth, but no, I didn't know there were none of these injuries. All of these injuries were made up. They were made up injuries. This 3 days of being held hostage, I don't believe that either. This woman could have left if she wanted to. She even mentioned it before that she hated when Johnny Depp would leave and walk away from arguments. And that's why she would get physical. Who was that? Someone literally said that in this trial. That AH would freak out. I believe it was their marriage counselor. I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of these names mixed up. But AH would hit Johnny when she thought Johnny was going to leave because she thought that is what would make Johnny stay. So after these 3 days of her so-called being held hostage and just totally wrecked, just totally smacked around, beat up for 72 hours straight, she had not a mark on her body, yet Johnny was missing a finger. So the proof is in the freaking pudding. The fact that we have gone this far, that it is 2022, and this woman still hasn't suffered any consequences. This woman still hasn't been held accountable for anything that she did. And I realize that we're past the point of her being held accountable for what she's done to Johnny. But how can she just go blatantly lie in court over and 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 over again? You got to think, if this was any normal person, who knows what would have happened to him by now? Who knows? Dr. Kipper also talked about Johnny's medical diagnoses. Basically, he has ADHD, bipolar 1, anxiety, and a substance abuse disorder. And you got to believe that that's kind of embarrassing for Johnny to put all of this information out there. Johnny seems to me like more of a private person. He's always felt that way. You know, I mean, he's a big star, don't get me wrong, but I've never seen him as the type to really want to be out there all flashy and in the limelight. Maybe he had that period of time in his career, but I've never been familiar with him being that type of person. He's always seemed to be more of a private person, at least to me. But one thing that sticks out to me is this. Now, if these are really good doctors, which I assume they are, these are some of the best doctors you could probably get with your money, and you're diagnosed with all of these disorders and you're prescribed medicine for these disorders and you're basically trying to go through a detox, your doctors would be noting all of your behavioral changes. They would want to check in with Johnny and see how he's acting, and how he's responding to this medicine. None of them, to my knowledge, had any notes about Johnny reacting violently. No one, to my knowledge, had any notes about him having any type of negative reactions to this medicine as far as it making him angry. None of the doctors noticed this behavioral change. Yet, AH's defense, their whole thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to just encircle this whole trial and focus all on the fact that Johnny drinks and Johnny maybe pops some pills here or there and Johnny likes to party, Johnny likes to do drugs. That's all they're trying to make this about because they know in some people's mind, oh, if he's high, he's drunk, then he's an abuser. That's how some idiotic people think. And that's what they're counting on. They're literally counting on that you just associate automatically. Oh, Johnny was high, Johnny was drunk. Oh, well, he must have whooped her ass. No, that's not always the case. In fact, more often than not, that's not the case. Yes, I know people get drunk, do drugs, and they turn into mean people who like to hurt people. That happens. I get it. I know there's violent, angry drunks out there. However, everyone that knows Johnny says that he's the exact opposite of that. In fact, they even express frustration that they would get drunk with Johnny, and while they would be drunk and having a good time and they're all loose, feeling good, Johnny would just be acting normal because Johnny can handle his liquor. But they're basically trying to make this whole thing about, oh, Johnny's on this, Johnny's on that, Johnny's on that. So a lot of people, small-minded people, weak-minded people would just automatically assume, oh, because he's on this and he's on that, then obviously he did this or that, when that's not the case. Half the time this stuff was probably making him mellow out to the point that he didn't want to fight. Although, when you have someone like AH harassing you 24/7, then, who knows how you're going to react, But AH is just sitting there all smugly while all of this stuff is being reported. That there was no injuries while she was on this island with Johnny. She didn't even report any injuries. This is something that she tried to talk about later on. So it's not like she called her doctor and was like, hey, I got a broken nose. I stepped on glass because Johnny slammed me through a table. There was no injuries on her, and she wasn't even trying to pretend like there was. She didn't even, tell them that she was injured at the time. Now, later on, she, basically accused Johnny of all of this stuff. But, at this point, it blows my mind that this is still going on. Like I've told y'all before, I was somewhat familiar with this case, but I didn't know all the details. So this right here, this is a new piece of information for me. And it blows my mind that we're in 2022 still dealing with this nonsense. This stuff should have been wrapped up a long time ago. The fact that people are on AH's side is crazy. The fact that after I put out this video, I'm going to have AH fans after my neck is crazy. Because this woman it's blatantly obvious that she's a manipulator and a liar. And this whole thing is a hoax. This whole thing is bogus. But I want to know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to leave a comment, drop a thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and as always, I'll talk to you on the next video.